Let's do it. You ready? Here we go. Hey. All right, welcome to Caravan. You know, the podcast companion for the hit TV show on Apple TV, Tubi, Amazon Prime, Caravan. By the way, we're shooting season 3. So if you are a realtor that wants to increase your exposure, elevate yourself, and separate yourself from all of your competition, get in touch with me. Let's get you onto TV, and let's get you onto the next season of Caravan. A lot to talk about. Sorry, I've been on a little bit of a sabbatical the past couple of weeks. I had a medical issue in my family, not with myself, but with one of my sons. It felt good, though, just to disappear for a couple of weeks and just focus on my family. Well, a lot going on right now. And one of the things that I want to talk about, in addition to what's going on in the post-pandemic boom and bust economy of real estate in certain markets, but I want to talk about as well what's causing it, and maybe even discuss a success story and some realtors that are just, a little bit ahead of the curve. Let's start out, though, with what we really see going on, and one of the great indicators of the real estate market, and that's home builders. And one stat that I read that was absolutely fascinating was that the price that home builders are selling their homes for continues to go down. And in 2022, the average purchase price with Lennar, KB Homes, a lot of the big home builders, was over $500,000. And today, it's down about 25% at $389,000. This is all known because of actual public data, because these are publicly traded companies, and when they file their quarterly earnings, they have to show how many homes they sold, what the average purchase price was, what the cost to construct was, et cetera, et cetera. Now, part of the problem in 2022 is that we had this boom and bust in real estate. So we had the boom from people moving from the northern states that were locked down to the southern states that are a lot more wide open. But also, it was the lagging effect of the cost of goods going up in 2020 and 2021. If you know anything about real estate, you know that real estate is always like a lagging indicator. But how would you feel if you were one of these homeowners that bought a house, pre-construction from one of the major home builders, and you bought a house at $500,000, and now in that same development, the same homeowner, the same development, the same builder is now selling properties for $100,000 less than what you bought it for? If that was me, I would be pissed off. But it is what it is. The other problem that I see going on right now in the housing market, in addition to rates, everybody wants to point to mortgage rates. But what I see as being one of the huge problems right now in the housing market is not the fact that interest rates are, double what they were in 2023. What I see as a huge problem is that the affordability index is way off. So the average income in America for an individual is $66,000. The average income for a household, combined household income, is about $85,000. But yet the average sale price is $503,000. That anybody that knows anything about mortgage financing, real estate, or whatever knows that, in order your mortgage should be about 4 to 5 times what your average income is. So if your average income is $66,000, 5 times that's about $330,000. That's still about $170,000 below what the average purchase price is. Now, the median purchase price is about $416,000, still well above. So we have this huge gap between what people earn and what homes are selling for. And I don't care what's going to go on with interest rates. Unless that gap is closed, either by wages going up or prices coming down, we're going to continue to see a huge housing problem here in America. We continue to see markets struggling, especially here in the South. Miami, Naples, Orlando, Austin, Dallas, a lot of these markets are struggling. But I want to say that when you have a professional realtor, a realtor that really knows what they're doing, you're going to see homes selling a lot faster than what they are in other markets. For example, right here in my building, 1450 Lincoln Road, I had a unit just upstairs from me, 2-bedroom, beautiful unit. Came on the market, I think around 758,000. I think it sold for 740. Why? That realtor did a great job of setting proper expectations. I think it only took 4 months for it to sell as well in a market where condos are sitting on the market for well over a year. He did a great job of setting proper expectations for the seller and bringing in the proper buyer. It sold for less than 3% off of what the list price is. And in a market where we're seeing 20, 30% price declines, that's a great job. That says that the realtor did a great job of analyzing the data, going to his client and saying, hey, look, here's what we're seeing in the market. You're not going to get that $900,000 that maybe 2 years ago you were getting. If you want to sell it, here's what you could sell it at. And I looked at the data. They're still selling it at a profit, but here's what you could sell it at, and you'll make money. Fair and square. I mean, that makes sense, right? I actually did an article on this. It was listed by David Reed, who actually lives here in the building, and Jennifer Brilliant. They did a brilliant job, and it was sold with Christopher Wands from Douglas Elliman. Again, 3% off the purchase price. Absolutely incredible job. I absolutely love it. Let's talk about statistics of what's going on in Miami right now in the Miami housing market, because, again, this is where I live. 23,540 total listings right now. Now, what's interesting is 17,000 of them are condos, okay? And we're seeing only in the last 30 days, we only saw 1,900 sales. So we have pretty much, 12, 13 months supply. It's been exactly where it's been going. Now, go back and look at what I've been saying for the past year about the market. It's part of the reason why I'm so public with a lot of what I do. It's the exact reason why I do the podcast, so that I'm trying to show you, here's what's going on in the market. You can go back a year ago, and I was saying we are going to have an oversupply, which is going to create a slowdown in the amount of sales. 1,900 sales, usually that's less than half of where we were pre-pandemic. 2019, we were averaging 4,000 sales a month. Now we're at 1,900 sales a month. What do you think happens in that market? Also, 1,900 sales last month, almost 5,000 new sales, which just grows the inventory. And we have about 3,000 listings right now that are 2 million and up. The market still, though, is still doing okay. We have seen a couple of listings that have sold well below what their listing value is at. In fact, we see it all across all markets. Naples, Dallas, Austin, Vegas, the Carolinas, everywhere. Markets are not tanking, but they are way off. Some markets are off about 30, 40% of where we were during the pandemic. Some news from around the world right now. What's going on? This is great. Tua Tagovailoa, I can't pronounce his name, but Tua sold his home for $2.6 million. Just sold it last week. Interesting because it was listed at $3 million, so it sold about almost 15% off of the list price, and it still took about 3 or 4 months to sell. That's interesting and indicative of what's going on in the market space. Barton G the owner of it, just sold his home right here, Sunset Harbor Islands, right here, right around the corner from me. Just sold it for $35 million. And now you see that headline, you're like, whoa, that's crazy. It's a beautiful, beautiful home. 1535 West 27th Street, $34.5 million. Apparently, it's in contract. Barton G didn't sell his house. Barton G is listed for sale, okay? Again, Barton G, really cool restaurant, over-the-top creations, cool spot, right in front of my favorite bar, Foxhole, great spot here in South Beach. Locals, it's just one of the best places to go to and hang out. Always have great music. So he's in contract. His last listed price was $34.5 million. But here's what's interesting. It was listed in March for $39.5 million, and they reduced it down to $34 million. Let's see what it's going to sell at. We're already down about 15%. Let's see what it's going to sell out. Other news. This is fantastic. Surfside victim's attorney buys his Venetian Island neighbor's house for $16 million. So he's partner in Rosen & Rosen. This is Judd Rosen. He just bought the neighbor's property. He lives on right next door. Just bought 111 East Toledo Drive right here in Venetian Islands. Literally, I could throw a softball at the house. Pretty crazy, buys it for $16 million. And if you know about the Lido Islands, if you're a fan of MTV or The Real World, the original Real World, I think it was 1995, 1996, was shot right here in a house just about 5 or 6 houses away from this house. Pretty cool, historic area. Other headlines, CNBC. Again, we're not saying that the sky is falling, but nearly 1/3 of major U.S. housing price markets now are seeing their home prices come down. Why is that happening? Well, again, I just talked about it. The average income in America, average household income is $80,000, and the average price of a house is $503,000. That tells you everything you need to know right there. You don't have to read CNBC, just have to listen to Ronnie G, and I'm going to tell you why everything is happening and why everything be the way it be. Wow, this is crazy. Record high rents and bidding wars leave New York City house hunters scrambling for shelter this summer. Yep. So New York City passed a law saying that brokers couldn't get a broker fee directly from the tenant, that they had to get it from the landlord. So what happened? That drove prices up because landlords were like, well, I'm not paying this. I'm not changing what I have to pay. So they jacked up their record high rents, and it created bidding wars, which created an even higher demand for homes in the New York City market. That's interesting. This is why government needs to stay out of real estate. One other interesting piece of news in the real estate world that ties in New York and the Miami markets, my favorite 2 markets to talk about. NBA star Precious Achiuwa, I never even heard of him. Nigerian basketball player, actually went to University of Memphis and plays for the Knicks. He played for the Heat, I think, 2020. He just bought at 5 Park. We don't know what the price is, probably somewhere between $2 and $5 million. It's pretty amazing. Everybody wants to be in Miami. The other thing I want to talk about, but I'm really not going to talk about that much because I'm going to do a complete separate podcast about it, is about this guy winning the Democratic primary in Mamdani, winning the Democratic primary for mayor of New York City, which he's got some pretty radical communistic type ideas. We're going to do an entire podcast about that. But for now, that's it. I'm Ronnie G. This is the Caravan podcast, just trying to keep you up to date and let you know what's going on in the world of mortgages and real estate in America, focusing on New York and Miami. Hey, if you want to be on the next episode of Caravan and get on Apple TV and Tubi and Amazon Prime, make sure you hit us up. I'm really easy to find. Just Google my name, Ronnie Ith, and you'll find everything you need to know about me. Just shoot me a DM on Instagram at RonnieGTV. We'll see you all next time on the Caravan podcast.